Christmas in Australia has never made sense, and that's exactly what makes it ours. While the rest of the world dreams of white Christmases and roaring fires, we're sweating through lunch in 40-degree heat, eating cold prawns on the back deck, and trying to keep the flies off the pavlova. Santa in a singlet, carols by candlelight in the park, the sound of cicadas drowning out Bing Crosby. If you grew up here, you know Christmas doesn't come with snow. It comes with sunburn, cricket in the backyard, and that very specific anxiety about whether the trifle will survive the heat. Today, we're diving into 12 Christmas memories that are uniquely, unmistakably Australian. The kind of memories that only make sense if you lived them. Let's go back to when Christmas was simpler, hotter, and absolutely unforgettable. Number 1. Spending Christmas afternoon at the beach or the pool. By mid-afternoon, when the heat was unbearable and everyone had eaten too much, there was only one solution: the beach or the pool. You'd pack up whatever you had left, towels, zinc cream, a deflated beach ball, and head out. The beach would be packed, families everywhere, kids building sandcastles, adults wading in the shallows trying to cool off. The water was heaven, crisp and perfect, washing away the sweat and the food coma. You'd body surf, dive under waves, float on your back staring at the cloudless blue sky. Or if you went to the local pool, it'd be chaos, kids bombing, screaming, lifeguards blowing whistles. Either way, it was bliss. That moment when you hit the water, when the heat finally broke, when you could breathe again, that was peak Australian Christmas. No snow, no fireplaces, no Northern Hemisphere traditions. Just sun, surf, and a sense of freedom that only comes from a scorching summer day. It was ours, and it was perfect. Number 2. The sound of cicadas. Becoming the soundtrack to every Christmas. If there's one sound that defines an Australian Christmas, it's the cicadas. That deafening, relentless buzzing that starts early and doesn't stop. You'd be sitting at the table, trying to have a conversation, and you'd have to shout over them. They'd be in the trees, on the fence, everywhere. Some people found it annoying, but for most of us, it was just Christmas. You couldn't imagine the day without it. That wall of sound meant summer, meant holidays, meant everything was right in the world. At night, they'd quiet down, and the stillness would feel almost eerie. But come morning, they'd be back, louder than ever. If you grew up here, that sound is embedded in your memory. Close your eyes, and you can hear it now, can't you? That uniquely Australian symphony that turned every Christmas into something unmistakable. Number 3. The endless visits to relatives you only saw once a year. Christmas wasn't just one day. It was a marathon of visits. Christmas Day at your house, Boxing Day at Nan's, the day after at your uncle's place. You'd be dragged from house to house, eating at every stop, enduring cheek pinches from aunties who'd tell you how much you'd grown, making awkward small talk with second cousins you couldn't remember. Every house would have food, mountains of it. Leftover ham, cold turkey sandwiches, more pavlova, more trifle. You'd be so full you'd feel sick, but you'd eat anyway because it was rude not to. The adults would sit around, talking for hours, while the kids would find ways to entertain themselves, usually by getting into trouble. It was exhausting, overwhelming, and sometimes boring, but it was family. And even though you'd complain, even though you'd count down the minutes until you could go home, those visits mattered. They connected you to something bigger, to people who shared your history, your blood, and looking back, you miss it more than you'd ever admit. Number 4. Boxing Day sales that started at dawn and required strategy. If you thought Christmas Day was chaotic, Boxing Day was war. The sales started early, sometimes as early as 5 or 6 in the morning, and people were ruthless. Your mum would have a plan. She'd studied the catalogues for weeks, circled what she wanted, mapped out which stores to hit first. You'd be dragged along, half asleep, still full from yesterday's lunch, into the madness. Department stores like Myer or David Jones would be packed, aisles crammed with people grabbing towels, appliances, marked-down decorations. There was pushing, shoving, competitive shopping at its finest. You'd watch your mum negotiate through the chaos, like a general commanding troops, emerging victorious with armfuls of discounted goods. By mid-morning, you'd be exhausted, cranky, and questioning why anyone would willingly do this. But your mum would be thrilled, having saved a fortune, and you'd know next year you'd be dragged along again. It was tradition. Number 5. The terrible Christmas crackers with even worse jokes. No Christmas table was complete without crackers. Those brightly wrapped tubes that you'd pull apart with a weak pop, revealing a paper crown, a tiny plastic toy, and a joke so bad it physically hurt. What do you call a snowman in Australia? A puddle. Everyone would groan, but you'd still read them out loud. You'd wear the paper crown even though it was too small and too hot, and it'd disintegrate within minutes from the sweat. The toy would be rubbish, some tiny puzzle or a whistle that barely worked, but you'd pocket it anyway. Kids would fight over who got the best cracker, even though they were all equally terrible. But pulling those crackers, reading those awful jokes, wearing those ridiculous crowns, it was part of the ritual. It signaled the start of the meal, the moment everyone was together. And even though you knew the joke would be bad, you'd laugh anyway. Because that's what Christmas was about. Number 6. Drinking warm soft drink, because the esky ran out of ice. The esky was the hero of Christmas Day, packed full of ice, cold drinks, and beer. It was the only thing standing between you and heat stroke. But by mid-afternoon, the ice would be gone, melted into lukewarm water, and all the drinks would be floating in it, barely cold. You'd crack open a can of lemonade or Fanta, and it'd be disgustingly warm. But you'd drink it anyway because you were parched and there was no other option. Someone would suggest a trip to the servo to get more ice, but nobody wanted to move. So you'd suffer through warm, soft drink, complaining but resigned. Sometimes, if you were clever, you'd shove a can in the freezer for 10 minutes, hoping it'd chill without exploding. It usually exploded. That lukewarm drink, the disappointment of it, the acceptance of it, that was just part of the day. You learned to cope, to make do. Very Australian, really. Number 7. Backyard cricket after lunch, with rules made up on the spot. After lunch, while the adults dozed in chairs or argued over the dishes, the kids would head outside for backyard cricket. It didn't matter if you were still full, still sweating, still wearing your good clothes, cricket was mandatory. Someone would grab the bat, someone else the tennis ball, and the game would begin. The rules were sacred. Hit it over the fence, 6 and out. One hand, one bounce, you're gone. The Hills hoist was the wicket, or maybe a esky or a bin, it didn't matter. Arguments would erupt over LBW decisions, whether that catch counted if the ball hit the tree first. Cousins who barely spoke the rest of the year would suddenly become fiercely competitive. And the adults would watch from the shade, shouting commentary, barracking for one side or the other. The game would go on for hours, until someone hit the ball into the neighbour's yard and they refused to give it back. Then it was over. But those chaotic, sweaty, argumentative games of backyard cricket, they were Christmas, pure, simple, and ours. Number 8. The pavlova debate that nearly tore families apart. Every Christmas, without fail, someone would bring up the pavlova. Who made it best? Nan? Your mum? Auntie Jean? Was it supposed to be soft in the middle or crunchy all the way through? Should the cream be whipped stiff or slightly runny? And don't even get started on the fruit. Strawberries, passion fruit, kiwi fruit, all acceptable. But if someone showed up with tinned fruit cocktail, there'd be judgment. The pavlova would sit in the fridge, pride of place, everyone sneaking peeks to make sure it hadn't collapsed in the heat. When it was finally time to serve it, you'd hold your breath. If it cracked, disaster. If it held, triumph. Either way, it was devoured in minutes, and everyone agreed it was the best one yet, even if they were lying. That pavlova, with its sweet meringue and fresh cream, was the crown jewel of Christmas. And the debates about it, they were just part of the tradition. Number 9. The Christmas lunch that took hours to prepare and minutes to eat. Christmas lunch was the main event, and your mum or nan had been preparing for days. The turkey or ham would go in the oven early, despite the heat, because that's just what you did. Roast potatoes, peas, carrots, gravy. All of it cooked in a house with no air conditioning, the kitchen hotter than the surface of the sun. Your mum would be red-faced, flustered, insisting she was fine while everyone else hid outside under the hill's hoist with a cold drink. When lunch was finally ready, the whole family would gather around the table, sweating through their good clothes, and dig in. The food was amazing, even if it made no sense to eat a hot roast in the middle of summer. You'd pile your plate high, someone would crack a cracker, read the terrible joke inside, and everyone would groan. Then, just as quickly as it started, it was over. Plates scraped clean, everyone too full to move. Your mum would look exhausted, and someone would quietly start doing the dishes while everyone else collapsed into food comas. Hours of work, minutes of eating. But that was Christmas. Number 10. Waking up at dawn to open presents before it got too hot. Christmas morning started early. Not because you wanted to, but because you had to. By 9 or 10 o'clock, the house would be an oven, so presents happened at dawn. You'd race to the tree, still in your pajamas, and tear into the wrapping paper while your parents stumbled out, bleary-eyed, clutching cups of tea. The lounge room would be a mess of paper, ribbons, and excited shouts. Bikes, cricket sets, dolls, board games. Nothing fancy, nothing extravagant, but it was yours. You'd play with your new toys for a bit. Then your mum would start hustling everyone into the shower because relatives were coming over and the day was only just beginning. That early morning chaos, the sun already fierce through the windows, wrapping paper stuck to your sweaty skin, it was pure joy. Frantic, hot, beautiful joy. Number 11. Trying to sleep while the temperature was still 30 degrees at midnight. Christmas Eve was torture for kids. Not just because of the excitement, but because it was bloody hot. You'd lie in bed, sheets kicked off, windows wide open, desperately trying to fall asleep so Santa could come, but the heat was relentless. 30 degrees at midnight, the air thick and still, cicadas screaming outside like they were mocking you. You'd toss and turn, too excited and too hot to drift off. Maybe you'd hear your parents moving around, wrapping last-minute presents, or assembling a bike in the lounge room, trying to stay quiet. The anticipation was almost unbearable. And when you finally did fall asleep, it felt like 5 minutes before you were awake again, bolting down the hallway to see what Santa had left. That sticky, sleepless Christmas Eve, it's burned into the memory of every Australian kid. The heat made it harder, but somehow it made Christmas morning even sweeter. Number 12. Carols by candlelight on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve meant one thing: carols by candlelight. Whether you were lucky enough to attend the big one at the Myer Music Bowl in Melbourne, or you watched it on the telly from your lounge room, it was tradition. Families would gather, kids in their pajamas, candles flickering, and everyone would sing along. Silent night, away in a manger, jingle bells, even though there wasn't a jingle bell or snowflake in sight. The hosts would be sweating under the stage lights, trying to look festive while dressed in full Christmas jumpers in the middle of summer. But it didn't matter. It was magical. The whole country was watching, singing together, feeling connected. You'd see famous faces, local celebrities, community choirs, all coming together for one night. And when it ended, you'd blow out your candle and Christmas felt real. It felt close. That warm glow, both from the candle and the feeling of belonging, that's what made it special. 12 memories that are burnt into the soul of every true Australian. Christmas here has never been traditional, and that's exactly why it's brilliant. We do it our way, hot, chaotic, and unforgettable. So tell us, which of these Christmas memories hits hardest for you? Which one takes you right back? Drop it in the comments, mate. This has been Retro Australia, where Christmas always comes with sunburn.